So, your mindset was like read, learn.
Yeah.
This is one of your favorite books. Give me your top three. Rattle them off.
Probably Not Fade Away by Peter Barton, Conquest of Happiness by Bertrand Russell, and $100 Startup was a good one too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Just all about startups that you can start with $100. Just bootstrapping your way, just grinding your way.
That's a funny one that you point out. Don't you think that like most people who are thinking about getting into like entrepreneurship or business ownership, they read something like that and they're like, that's bullshit.
Yeah.
You can't start with $100. This is a marketing scheme. They just want to sell the book.
But like entrepreneurship, business ownership, the American dream, it shouldn't be, and it really isn't. But for most Americans, it shouldn't be building the next Uber, building the next Facebook, building the next Airbnb, like going on Shark Tank and inventing something. Like the American dream for most people is building John's Power Washing from $250,000 to $500,000 with a small team so that you can take home $200,000
and have a nice home and
have
fence
a nice home
and a pool.
Some time that you get back, and it's way more accessible than people realize. It doesn't, especially with, there's going to be a mass exodus of business owners over the next 5 to 20 years of all these boomers who are going to be retiring. Enter something like Freedom Acquisitions that's going to come in. A lot of these businesses, when these owners are ready to retire, most businesses, they just dissolve. They just sell off their hard assets. There's no off-ramp for these business owners to enter retirement with anything other than their savings. But with something like Freedom Acquisitions and these other brokers who are offering that off-ramp, it's not only giving those business owners a way to set sail into retirement with some passive income through the sale of their business, but it's also a very approachable and accessible entry point for the next generation to get in through things like seller financing or any kind of creative financing and take over an existing business that already has operations in place. So, like, business ownership, the American dream, it's not starting something that's going to go to the moon. It's not VC-backed rounds of fundraising over and over again.
Every startup nowadays is like 50 mil plus, 100 mil plus.
Stupid.
Silicon Valley, everybody thinks, but there's the small business owner who owns a secondary forklift company. Craig Martin, he's a new guy joining the pit. We've talked to him in the past. He sells forklifts. There's an older gentleman that he knows. I don't want to say too much. I was not going through any type of process, but Fireside and people affiliated with it like Nick, who can legally help with that stuff. As a registered rep, I can't do that right now.
Yeah.
But we want to help take the young guy, to your point, and give him the opportunity and help the old guy secure what he worked hard to build up.
Yeah, it's way more approachable than people really realize.
That's a $10 million business I'm referencing.
Yeah.
So if someone could get it at $1 million entry point because someone else is willing to put up that money and take a small piece of equity on the cap table, or set up an interest rate that they want over a certain period of time.
Yeah.
To your point, the older gentleman gets to go get some mailbox money for 10 plus years, and the young gun gets an opportunity. And I think that's what most people need to understand. Evan was in the mindset of, I don't need to be Google, I don't need to be a billionaire. I just want to make enough to be financially free, set up in my backyard like you had at home, a fire pit, some woods, a pool, and I think that is the real American dream. And most people don't realize that our GDP is driven off of service. China, every other economic power in the world is trying to mimic what we have, and they just can't. And that's why our politicians were smart to say, hey, help everybody get a home in America.
Yeah.
And really, if you could do that and put some money away and take a vacation or two, that's real freedom. Now, for myself and you and others around us, we're never satisfied.
Doesn't mean we're not trying to get papered over here. It's like, but you have that. If you can have both things, if you can have the motivation to just want to have that financial freedom, but also be able to operate with a life mindset that you're going to be content even if you just have your basic needs met and your bills are comfortably paid for, that gives you the mental freedom to chase down really whatever you want, because you know that you can take it pretty close down to zero.
Yeah, you're gonna be all right.
Reason. You're going to be all right, because you know that you don't need a house in Hollywood Hills. You don't. It's like, no, that's not the American dream for most people. Most people are just trying to get out of the rat race.
And most people that chase that, I'm not saying that some aren't happy, some aren't, accomplishing what they desire, but
a lot of happy people in the Hamptons.
yeah, they definitely. There's a lot of unhappy people too. And that financial freedom, being able to sit in your backyard and work from there, or how you work, you're at your apartment in Asbury, you're floating around to the different business owners that we all deal with in our circle in the pit. You live a pretty free life, man.
Yeah.
It's totally dictated by you.
Yeah.